welcome to one more of the Premier Project podcast where we discuss the best ways to implement the multi-actor approach during the project proposal writing stage. My name is Mikelis. Our guest for today is Vesna Miličić from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Slovenia. Hi Vesna.
Hi, hello.
And as usual, we are joined by my colleague from Baltic Studies Centre and Adamsone-Fiskovica. Hi.
Hello, nice to meet you.
So, let's begin with the simple one.
Yeah.
Could you maybe, Vesna, tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, yes. My name is Vesna Miličić. I work here at the Chamber of Agricultural and Food Enterprises, which is within the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Slovenia, and I'm senior consultant. I basically cover the area of fruit and vegetable production, so this is my main area of work. And then I also work on projects such as Premiere as well. So as well as on the European projects, as well as in national projects, we are.
So I think nowadays everybody is working on projects, and it's just a normal aspect of everybody's job description.
Exactly.
You must be in projects.
Yeah.
But that means that that you could have had experience with multi-actor approach. So maybe you could elaborate what has been your experience with this approach.
Okay. Yes. Multi-actor approach. I sincerely got familiar with it when I worked at the faculty, at the biotechnical faculty for 10 years, and there we had a lot of projects which included different various stakeholders. Then I moved to the Ministry of Agriculture, where I was basically in charge of setting up the EIP Agri operational groups. So this was the second, let's say, experience I got considering multi-actor approach, and this one was quite interesting. I was in a way, let's say, setting up the legislation, and doing that you have to know a lot what is behind the scenes. So what actually is multi-actor approach? Who are the stakeholders? And who are you supporting with your legislation and the financial support within the CAP, so Common Agricultural Policy? And when I got the job at the ministry, it was the first time that we started to set up these EIP Agri operational groups in Slovenia. And we were basically at the end of the programming period, so we were really in a hurry to set up everything and to basically see multi-actor approach working in practice in Slovenia. So getting farmers and getting advisors and researchers together, working at one specific, let's say, area or topic. It was quite interesting and quite challenging as well. But this kind of approach, like multi-actor approach, was already there in Slovenia. So the researchers and farmers and advisors were cooperating. I mean,
just a quick question there.
Yeah.
So it's obvious you have very long experience and you have experience from different perspectives.
Yes.
But then I wonder, we are using nowadays specifically designating multi-actor approach, and we are using this concept. Did you learn about this approach with this concept, or was it just a normal way how to do things, where you bring people together and actually there was no concept attached to that?
Yeah, basically it was both. So we were doing that, but we are not aware that we are doing that. So that was the most interesting thing, because it was obvious, I mean, that if you have, as a researcher, some kind of, research idea, you go to the practitioner, so to the end user, and ask him or her, okay, do you think this idea is interesting? And then you're trying to come together and, to make some compromise about how you're going to evolve the idea further on so that it will be most usable for practice. But there is one big challenge, and that is communication. So how to communicate properly as a researcher, to the guy who is, working on the field for the whole of his life, and then trying to explain this to him or to her in very simple way, yeah, so that he will understand what is your aim, and then that you come together at the end.
So, but maybe then I have a question to Anda actually. So it seems that if you are a practitioner, you are already using this approach and it's normal for you. But then if you are a scientist, as usual, you just try to add a new level for something that's happening. So am I correct in my diagnosis here?
Yeah, it sounds like I was surprised to hear the path that you've taken yourself, very multi-actor in your profile yourself, and I was surprised to learn that, and I think that's not the usual way. And for you, maybe the multi-actor approach, as you explain it, is a very natural thing to have, but I wouldn't say that all researchers perceive this collaboration as natural or a given thing, so I think that's also a different perspective you're bringing.
The funny thing is that my next question is how did you decide to work with multi-actor approach, but actually that's what you are saying, that for you it's not a decision, that's how you do things.
Yes,
Am I right?
It was, sort of, it is how we do things, but of course we have a lot of challenges, I mean, to get to the right farmer. Not all, let's say, end users or practitioners are ready to collaborate, First of all, they don't have much time, that's the main obstacle. And then the second of all is, are they interested let's say, encompass the idea that you have as a researcher, but that was in my previous life as a researcher.
But then maybe we could follow slightly this line of thinking. You mentioned already two challenges: finding the right partners, and then also convincing that actually the things that you are pursuing is interesting to this group of people as well.
Yeah.
Are there any other challenge you would want to flag that might pop up if you're working with this multi-actor approach? For sure. I mean, then when you get your project approved, of course, then the big challenge is how you manage your time. This is because you are not working only on one project as a researcher, so how to find appropriate time, and as well, not only from the researcher perspective, but also from the farmer's perspective, but because he works a lot outside, and there is a really small time window where you can get, let's say, time with him or her to discuss things and making things moving ahead. So, but this is just from the researcher, but from the legislation point of view, it's also interesting because when you are there, when you are working at the Ministry of Agriculture, you know that you have power. Sort of power in terms of making the legislation right and correct and useful for everyone. You have to be really non-biased, and you have to be really objective. So this was also very interesting, how to set up the EIP agri-operational groups, which work in terms of multi-actor approach, of course, because you have different stakeholders with different views, with different expectations. So how you set up the legislation and the legislation framework that it can work for all of them. So, Anna, do you agree that legislation is the key?
Well, I think it sets the basis for the framework where we can actually apply the multi-actor approach, but I think there are also many bottom-up processes, and maybe you can, from your experience, reflect on how you have felt that it's not you as a policymaker deciding, but that you feel the demand for some adjustments that need to be made.
So the best thing to do that is organizing workshops and interactive discussions with your stakeholders, so that first you present your proposal of the legislation, the framework, and then you discuss it with the stakeholders. And then you, as a legislator, you have to have the right judgment to decide, okay, now we have to take some middle way. No one will be satisfied 100%, right? But
at
least
in action.
Exactly, democracy in action, and you have to fulfill it when you work at the ministry. Yeah, but now for the third time, so let's say my third lifetime, which is here at the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Slovenia, where we are dealing with also end users and practitioners, which are agricultural and food companies and industry. So they are facing concrete problems, of course, for example, mitigation for climate change, adaptation to climate change, new diseases, new pests coming in. And these kind of projects, they give a very good opportunity to deal with these problems at once and within this time frame which is provided within the project. So I think this is a good idea, but still there are challenges in terms of communication, in terms of negotiation.
I think you tick so many important points there, but of course there are challenges of implementation, but then also, of course, if you are engaging in collaborative solutions, it will be that you have to find trade-offs and not everybody will be happy at the end, but that's the way to move forward. So we need some convincing to do to actually convince those that are not yet participating in these projects to give them arguments why actually these trade-offs are relevant and why they should actually maybe put aside their own ambitions and work together to achieve some of their ambitions. But maybe if we think along these lines, what would you say to those people who are now considering that maybe they should engage in these collaborations where multi-actor approach is at the core? So what they should consider and why they maybe should or shouldn't join?
Okay. First of all, they should join definitely because they work in a multi-dimensional and multidisciplinary environment, and that might be really helpful for them to solve their problem they're facing at the moment. I think that nowadays everything is so complex that it's not easy to solve one problem just with two or one expert. You need a team of experts just to get different views to solving the problem and getting the idea on the table and having a discussion, a fruitful discussion. But this is really, really hard if you don't have a certain approach which is needed. It's not good to have it too democratic, I would say. I mean, you have to have your stand, and you have to argument well everything you say from your own perspective. And then it's a win-win situation, I would say, because in the team everybody can learn from each other.
And I really loved your argument that, at least that's how I read it, you are in a system anyway, so you are already a part of multi-actor project. So the question is whether you take some action and be an active participant, or you just be one of the dots in the system without a real ownership.
Exactly.
Danda, do you want to add something on this?
I was. You covered the three groups of multi-actor stakeholders, which are usually the academic partners, industry, and governance. But how about the non-governmental organizations? Have you had experience in collaborating with them, or where do you see their role in the multi-actor approach?
Yes, I mean, my concrete experience, but not in a project which covered MAA approach, but when we were setting up the new strategic plan for the Common Agricultural Policy for the new programming period, there we had quite a lot of experiences. It was also a multi-actor approach, right? Because there were researchers presented there at the workshops, and also scientists, professors, also farmers, the representative of farmers, NGOs as well, and there they all have their say, right? And I would say that at one point it got messy. It can get messy if you don't have a right moderator or the right external, let's say, person who is not so much involved directly in the topic. Then I think it might be okay. I mean, it can work. Otherwise, I don't think that then you can reach the goal you set at the beginning. It's difficult with all these different characters. Yeah.
But it can get messy even with the right moderator. Because once you bring together so many different opinions, it's just difficult to make sure that everybody feels heard and everybody actually feels that their needs have been recognized, at least to some extent.
Yeah.
But so Anda, you want to add something?
Yeah, sorry, but one more question I had is about the premiere project is about the proposal development stage, and much of what you're saying is sort of related to that, but not maybe more into the implementation or policy dialogue. But from your experience in the proposal development, do you see any particular challenges at this particular stage in the collaboration process?
Oh yeah, getting the right partners as well, because of course everyone is looking at the topics when they are announced. I mean, everybody is familiar with them, but then you are thinking in your head, okay, who can I invite? Who can I call? Who is the most appropriate to join the partnership, or who would I rather collaborate with? So, and then you look and you think, and you go in the past, and you say, okay, I collaborated with him or with her very good in the past, so I think that this might be a good approach. But then, of course, you need also someone new, right? Who is not experienced or who has no idea that these kind of projects are existing. And then you have different approaches how you can invite them to join you. And first of all, you have to have a good sales pitch. So you have to convince, you have to convince with your idea, and you have to present the topic. You have to present, let's say, you have to be really futuristic. So you have to look in the future very well, so that you don't give any empty promises.
But also, I mean, if you are pitching to your own group, like if I'm pitching to academics, I know already what arguments work and I know what they want to hear. But once you reach out to entrepreneurs or different groups, you realize that actually this is a different set of arguments that you suddenly have to bring forward, and that might be challenging.
Yes, for sure. So from your perspective as a researcher, to communicate with the end user or practitioner or the industry, of course it's challenging because you don't know them and their DNA. But industry DNA is different than the researcher DNA.
So
or
we have
the advisor's DNA. Yes, if we can call it like that.
No, but I think you are onto something, because it's not just about argumentation, it's about how different groups think and what they actually consider as a valuable argument, or the way how you frame the argument. So it's not just about identifying the argument, it's about right way how you bring it forward. So definitely a lot of thinking about pitch.
Yeah, of course. You have to have pitch tailored to your end group, or to the group you are referring to, or you are trying to convince to join you on your project consortium.
But now maybe slowly closing this discussion, one more additional question about the future of MAA. So how do you think, what will happen to this approach? Will it become more relevant, or maybe it will slowly fade away, or something completely different will suddenly appear?
Yes, in my opinion, I think that this approach will become even more important in the future. Not that the world nowadays is complex. I think that the world we are seeing in the future will become even more complex. So we would need even more different views and different stakeholders, different opinions to solve our complex problems in a very dynamic world we live in at the moment. So I guess that the MAA approach will definitely get in more important in the future. Maybe they will rephrase it a little bit, but the concept itself, I guess, it will stay and it will become more important. For sure.
What you said at the beginning, you don't really need always a concept to work together.
No.
Even if there won't be a concept, people will still work together. Probably.
Exactly. Yeah, because my first encounter with the MAA I didn't know that it was an MAA. So I was just working like that, and I was working in the environment which worked like that. But then this definition came, and all these 7 rules you have to apply to MAA. And then I was reading those 7 rules, and I said, oh, okay, yeah, I was doing that, I was doing this, okay. So there were ticks already before the definition itself came out from the European Commission.
But I think that's the importance of putting those on paper is that you transfer this know-how, which is tacit and not formalized, into specific definitions that allow to communicate the approach also to those who hadn't practiced that before. So maybe that's why these concepts are needed.
But I think this is a healthy point to stop our conversation. Let's stop with this idea that no matter what, probably practitioners will continue to use multi-actor approach, but still it's relevant to put on paper just to know what exactly we are doing. With that being said, thank you, Vesna, for this half an hour of your time, and I hope that we will meet sometime soon again to discuss the developments of multi-actor approach even further.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you very much. Bye.